When was the last time you dreaded a difficult conversation that you knew you needed to have with someone that worked for you? I mean, that candid, like, when was it? Was it today? Was it last week? Was it last month? Is there one right now that's a live fire incident? Someone where you know that even striking up the conversation is gonna prompt a negative response and it's gonna get dicey real fast. How about this? When was the last time you knew you needed to have a conversation like that, but you put it off? You procrastinated on it. At some point or another, it's too far down the road for you to go back in time. It's now even more awkward to have this conversation because you've waited for so long. Come on, we've all done it. Look, if you haven't done that at work yet, good for you, but you've probably done it with your friends, your spouse, your kids, your parents, something along those lines. Look, tough conversations are tough. Hard things are hard. And there's absolutely a natural human reaction to avoiding difficult things like this, especially when you anticipate that it goes poorly. But in today's episode, I'm gonna show you how real leaders begin the difficult conversations so that they can increase the likelihood of them going well, or at least better. I'm gonna show you how to make hard conversations easy in this episode. Let's dive in. Welcome to Leadership Unplugged, where I show you what real leadership sounds like. So what is it that makes this particular conversation so difficult? Well, it could be anything really, right? I don't know the specifics of what's going on in your world, and the specifics of the situation could vary dramatically, but it's the context, and more importantly, our perception of their reaction that tends to make us dread it up here. Can't you just hear their resistance, the friction, the pushback, the hurt, the blame? Can't you hear them telling you, it's not my fault, which, by the way, you should explore our episode on excuses if that's one you anticipate from people. Can't you hear them saying, how come you didn't tell me sooner? Or, it was so-and-so's fault, or maybe even getting so defensive. What are you even talking about? That's not even a thing. We can anticipate the hurt, the damage we might do, the long-term tension we may create, right? The drama that can create in the office around the water cooler and the culture for the next days, weeks, or months. Putting it another way, if you were more confident that the conversation would go well, you probably wouldn't dread it so much. If you had a reason to think they might be receptive to your conversation, a lot of this might go away and you might be ready to go have that conversation immediately. It's your fear of how it's gonna go that causes the dread. And this is what we need to recognize. We can't actually do anything to control their reaction. You can't do anything to control anybody else. All you can do is control the setting in which it takes place and the words that you use to give you a better chance of it going well. So with that in mind, let's make this a little bit simpler. You can control your words and you can control the setting, and that's it. So let's talk about the setting first. I highly recommend you have difficult conversations in private. And I highly recommend you invite that person into that conversation without letting everybody else know that it's about to be a private conversation, right? It's not like, can you come into my office, please? And everybody in the office goes, ooh, right? That's not gonna help. That's not gonna set that person up to be receptive to the message that you're trying to share. Now, if you've seen my other videos on this, you might recall that you could have actually already asked this person what the best way is to give them hard feedback. You could have had a previous conversation with them on what we call the rules of engagement. It's all about asking questions like, hey, if I have to give you a hard piece of feedback, how would you like to hear it? Or hey, if I have to hold you accountable, how would you like me to do that? You could have some instructions. In fact, you could have some rules that are already pre-established that would have made this a lot easier for you. And lastly, I would recommend that you do this either over Zoom or face-to-face, or maybe over the phone, but probably not over Slack or text message or email. And the reason is, your tonality, your body language, you want those things to be assets and allies. And it's too easy in a text message, email, Slack, whatever, for that to just be lost. Now, that means you have to actually bring the right tonality and body language to bear. This is easier to do in person. It's harder to do over Zoom, and it's hardest to do over the phone. But changing your tonality so that you have upward tones instead of downward tones. Changing your volume so that you're speaking like this as opposed to like this. Using their name intentionally, their first name. Not like Eric, but hey Eric, what do you think about that? Soft tonality is going to go a long ways. Using your facial expressions neutrally or curiosity as opposed to animated, in their face, scrutinizing. These are tools that you can use in the setting that's gonna make it so that this conversation is more likely to go the way you want it to. So, to make it simple, do it in private. Recruit them to the conversation beforehand by learning some rules of engagement with them, and do it in a way where you can turn your tonality and your body language into an ally instead of a detriment. So what about the words? If this episode is making sense to you, and you're excited for the next part, you're excited to figure out what to say, that might be a good clue that clicking that subscribe button and coming back every week for more content would be a great idea. Take a second, do that, we'll keep marching on. So what about your words? Well, fortunately, there's a tried and true process here that, I gotta be honest, I didn't make it up, but I also don't think my coach who taught me it made it up. This is a standardized process we call enrollment, and it begins by recognizing what's in it for the other person. Again, think about it this way. If this person knew there was something good for them on the other side of it, that might lower their barriers and make you dread the conversation less. And what you're trying to do is figure out what really is in it for this person to hear my feedback, to make the correction I'm asking them to make, to improve their quality of work or their attitude. And we have to take a second and mentally flip this around a little bit. Recognize that if they took the actions you want them to take, if they changed the thing you want to bring up to them, it would probably have a positive impact on them. Or it would eliminate some negative impact that they may not have really properly identified yet. They may not have really connected those dots yet. There's always something in it for them. What I mean is, if this person continues to show up late a couple times a week, you're never gonna give them more responsibility, right? There's just no chance you hand that person more. If that person is regularly a toxic cloud in the break room or around the water cooler, they're never gonna have their respect of their peers that they probably want, and they probably won't be given an opportunity to lead those individuals. If the person regularly submits subpar work, they're probably redoing a lot of things. They're probably pretty stressed. They probably don't feel like they have the time to take off to go to their kid's baseball game or whatever else they would prefer to be doing with their time. Do you see what I'm driving at here? If we can flip it around and recognize that the feedback I want to give you is not for my benefit, granted it will help me, but that's not the point. And if I can recognize that if I give this person this feedback and they do something with it, something really good will happen for them, or something really bad will stop happening to them, then now you hold a secret that if you don't share with them, you're kind of a jerk. If you can flip this around, you can have a little bit more conviction and courage to go have this conversation, because you recognize to not tell somebody the missing secret to their next level of success is pretty rude. It's not a very leaderly quality, right? And with that conviction in mind, we can take the time to think, how do we need to shape these words so that they're willing to hear us? How do we turn this into permission to share this feedback so that the person is on board right away? And that's exactly how you start that difficult conversation with them, by sharing with them what's in it for them to hear you out. You say something along the lines of, hey John, what I really want is for you to be able to get that promotion that's coming up next. Or hey Sarah, what I'd really love is for you to be able to make it to more of your kids' baseball games. You'll notice I might have your attention immediately, right then and there, if I can capture what really matters to you in a what I want for you framework. Now you don't have to say the words what I want for you, because not many people actually speak that way, but I want you to think that way. What positive thing do you want for this person that you know they're not getting because of the thing you want to share with them? Can you start with that to get their attention? Because that's the first thing that you do. The second thing you do is you reveal your intentions. What do you want to do about it? I don't just want to tell you this thing. Maybe I want to share this idea with you. Maybe I want to come up with a way to help you solve that problem. Maybe I want to share an observation that'll help you get that thing I said I wanted for you. What are your intentions? I used to have a manager who would call me out of the blue, and he'd start asking me a bunch of questions about my projects or my team's projects, and I didn't know why he was asking those questions. Right? I had no idea what his intentions were with the information he was trying to get out of me. Was he gonna beat me up with it? Was he gonna tell me we weren't doing a good enough job? He'd done that before, so I didn't know. I was once bitten, twice shy. Or was he trying to find a way to make me look good in front of the board? I had no clue what his intentions were, and so I didn't want to be revealing or vulnerable in any way, so I played defense. That's what your people will do too, unless they know what your intentions are. So you get their attention with what's in it for them, and then you help lower the defensive barriers by revealing your intentions. What do you want to do about it? And last, you ask them for permission to have the conversation. I can't overstate this particular point enough. You have to ask them, hey, is it okay if I share that with you? Hey, could we, spend 15 minutes today talking about that, or maybe sometime next week? You must give people the opportunity to say no. That might feel odd because you're their boss, right? And theoretically, you don't need permission to tell them they're screwing up. And you're right, you don't. But do you want it to go well, or do you just want to get it done? Because if you just want to get it done, sure, you can bombard people all you want with feedback. But if you really want them to hear you, if you want to make the hard conversation easy, you get permission. And you do that by getting their intention, sharing your intentions, and asking them for their permission to have that conversation. So I might come to you and say, hey John, what I really want is for you to be at the top of the list the next time a raise or a promotion comes around. I gotta be honest with you, if it came around today, you wouldn't be at the top of that list. But I'd like to share with you why and help you through it. Would you be up for that conversation sometime soon? That's an enrollment statement. What's in it for you? Potential promotion if it's available. What are my intentions? To share what's holding you back and help you through it. Can we have that conversation? Now, you'll notice there might be times where you have to have the conversation. They don't get to say no. And you can actually give them what we call time agency in those instances. You could say, is it better to have that conversation today or would you rather do it next week? Because nobody lets you schedule your own execution, right? If you let people know the thing I want to share with you could be done later, that takes getting fired off the table. Which, by the way, when you go to somebody as their boss and say, hey, I have something I need to share with you, all people can sometimes hear is, oh God, I'm getting fired. They can't hear what you're actually saying. It's natural. So if you take that off the table by letting them schedule the time, heck, you've already let it slide for 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months. What's a couple more hours or another day or two? You give them that agency, you'll probably earn more trust and you'll lower those barriers even more. But that's the process of enrollment. What's in it for them? What are your intentions? And can we have that conversation? Get them to give you permission to do it. So real quick, I want you to do this as a challenge here. You have some piece of feedback you wish you could share with somebody. You had something that happened in the last day, week, month, quarter that you've been holding on to because you didn't know how to broach the conversation. Take a second, jot that person's name down and what the issue is. That's all I want you to do right now. Take that action, because if you write down John tardiness, you'll be far more likely to know, man, there is something positive in it for John to not be tardy, and I should probably go share that with him. You'll have a little bit more courage and conviction to do it. Then you can review this if you want to capture the process and go put it to use. So let's go back to the beginning of this, right? Dreading difficult conversations. And we dread them because we anticipate a negative reaction from that person. We assume they're going to push back vehemently and create such a stir and such friction that it's not worth the juice, isn't worth the squeeze here. And what we've learned is that if instead we start to recognize, maybe the thing I have to share is something that's actually really important for this person's growth. Maybe it matters so much that I'm kind of a jerk if I don't share it with them. And now we can have a little bit more courage. We can sit up a little bit straighter and recognize, yeah, it might be worth frustrating this person to make sure they actually do get the promotion they're looking for, so they can buy the house they want to buy, or so they can spend more time with their kid, or they can, earn the respect of their peers in a way they haven't yet. Maybe that's actually worth it for me to put myself out there and bear their short-term frustration because I care enough about their long-term success that I'll have this conversation. That's the conviction we want to have as a leader, and it all starts right there. And then we just follow that simple process. What's in it for them? What are your intentions? What do you want to do with that? And can we have that conversation? And if you get permission to have that conversation, now you can take the kid gloves off. And that doesn't mean you throw haymakers. It just means that you don't have to be as worried or anxious about their resistance, because they might have it, but they gave you permission. An adult told you, yes, you can tell me what I'm doing that's preventing me from getting promoted. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more courage to stand in the fire when they bring it to the table. But setting the stage so that you can have this conversation is the best way to take difficult conversations and make them easy. And in my next video, I'm gonna show you what to do in that conversation so you can fully unlock their talent and their potential. Make sure and come back for more. Take a second, click that subscribe button, and come back for more Leadership Unplugged every week. See you next time.